GG, it is your WCS Winter of Champions.
자, 이번 세 번째 만남에서 트레이너 전구승은 대기록을 세웁니다.
Yourself into a corner, and he taps out. Sue's done it. He's done it, Sue.
이제 GS의 슈퍼터너비 우승을 차지합니다.
Cyril is just too damn powerful. And Cyril is going to flawless victory his way.
우승 최초의 전구승가 됩니까? 진짜! 그 이름의 다크 방영호!
Reynolds doing it, Mauri doing it. He tries to prophecy. It's done. The king has been vanquished. The 5 WCS streak is over.
진짜! 진의 그리믹스 러브 이병렬 우승!
Down again in the WCS final. GG. One more time, one more trophy.
최고의 자리에 올라서는 방정호 선수!
And with that, now we finally determine who is going to be moving on into our deciders match here, as Maru is able to dispatch off Stats 3-0 here. And unfortunately for Stats, it has not been the easiest of roads at all. Who would have expected him to not even get himself a single map here throughout Group B? Gentlemen, Tasteless, Artosis, breaking down this series as it did go on, it felt like, for the most part, nothing really went Stats' way throughout the series.
He's been having a bad day. It's too bad, but you know, it all came down to what he was able to pull off. And I don't know if he was demoralized from the previous games, but it was rough. He had some plans to go into late game, but it did not work out.
You know, I kind of feel bad for him because I feel like overall he didn't play that poorly against Maru.
Right.
There was points in this game number one where he had a very strong unit composition. We just kind of saw that retreat a second ago that kind of ended up costing him the game. He lost all of his expensive units.
Yeah.
He did that panic move that every Protoss knows where you shoot out 5 disruption balls in the same location. You're like, oh my god, that's like the only way to make sure they don't do anything.
Yeah.
A lot of things ended up going wrong when it felt like he could have done something here. And I can kind of say the same in Game 2. I thought Game 2 was a pretty close game overall. I felt like he was playing really quite well, and then he did that very weird carrier switch, which you don't normally see.
Sure.
Yeah, that was a little bit odd, the carrier play, and it was handled so easily. The Vikings just came out and shot it all down. And
yeah, the carriers are like he played the whole game pretty well, I thought, right?
Yeah,
He was rotating around. He was, you know, poking the edges and the fringes. He was stopping harassment pretty well, but the carriers are cool for like a moment, right? They come out, they surprise the Terran.
The carriers!
Yeah, it's like, ah!
Whoa,
Here they
whoa,
are!
whoa.
Yeah, and then, yeah, they make Vikings. And
Then they died. Sorry, guys. And there were a few more cute moves that were going on from Stats' side of things as well, like the Shadow Strike coming out from DTs to try and get things done, but Dan, it didn't feel like it was really going to make too much of an impact against what we were seeing from Maru there.
yeah, I don't know. It was kind of weird the way that he was spending his money and everything. He made, like at the end we saw him make like 40 Zealots, right? Because he had like a 4K bank, but are you really going to just fight under Liberators like that all day? I don't know. It felt like he played a pretty strong game, a pretty strong series overall, but you can't mess around against Maru. You just can't do it.
And definitely so we're witnessing some of the final moments here from that game number 2, and as we previously saw, those Dark Templars weren't doing too much. And for all intents and purposes, when you're striking it against these kinds of bases, and the Terrans on the other side being able to take out your most vital locations for economy, it's not going to end well.
No, it's not. And we see over here, this was the moment that the carriers finally made their big reveal, but it was just very easily handled, and the rest of the game was basically Maru traveling around the map, cleaning up whatever else remained here of stats. And of course, in game 3, it was a much quicker attempted timing attack, which we're seeing now.
Well, there's unfortunate notions as well for stats in this game, I feel, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's okay to mix in a blink all in every now and then.
Yeah,
I think it's actually a pretty smart move. This is a reasonable map for it. I think he hit it reasonably well also. He just didn't quite get the volleys. Like you see there, he had a tank one shot from dying. He had the Raven one shot from dying.
Yeah.
Just a lot of things went wrong with this all, in which, again, it's not a bad choice of a strategy, but you're down 0-2, one misstep, you're done.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that Stats tried to go for this as well, but look, he's a really good player. I personally thought he was going to get out of this group, but Stats has been having a bad day, and his day's done. And Maru, excellent hold there after having a tough time against Time.
Definitely. So let's check in with the results, of course, here. As we do see, we have one more match left to go. And Maru and Time will have that rematch here to determine who is going to be moving on into the round of 8. Now, bear in mind, at the very start of the day, this was our fixture. And it absolutely did not go the way a lot of people, a lot of pundits out there in the StarCraft verse actually believed it to. Maru obviously taking the loss there against Time. Coming into the rematch here, Dan, what are your anticipations? Are we seeing that change around that we oftentimes see here in these groups? Or what are your thoughts?
Look, I was so impressed with Time, and he played straight up and really beat Maru fair and square. But when you have like the whole middle part of the day, and you have your coach here, you have teammates and friends that are watching as Maru, I feel like he's going to have a much better strategic approach to how to play against Time.
I think you're completely right. I mean, to be honest, Maru definitely is going to be able to go back and look at those games and try to identify what exactly he did wrong.
Yeah.
But Time is looking scarier than I think he's ever looked before. Never mind the games against Maru from earlier. Look at those games against Cyril. He was playing incredibly.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Cyril's perfect endgame, I don't know that he would have been able to take it. So this is going to be pretty tough, I think, for Maru.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. And I was saying it in the back with the guys that it's not only for Time that this is China's best representative that we've ever had here in the WCS Global Finals, because we've never had one here, but also it's his best iteration of Time as well here at the stage for the Global Finals. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. It is now time for our final series of the day here in Group B, as Maru goes up against Time to find out who moves on into the round of 8.
All right, guys, one last best of 5 here for the group of death, and it is going to be between this man, Maru, from Jin Green Wings, and of course, Team Newbie's Time. With that great upset at the beginning, there is an inarguable upset, a 3-2 victory to start things off with for the Chinese Terran. Can he repeat it again in the decider, though? He cannot make many mistakes against this kid.
He's not going to give you a lot of room for error, Maru. Not the second time around, especially. He's going to come in there tighter than ever. You know, the way Maru plays, I'm not sure if he's going to go and completely change up his style drastically, but I think there's going to be a lot of refinement in the details. And, you know, this is the great thing about this format. It's the hard thing for Time right now, having to once again defeat the same player. It's always a rough ask, but for me, I love it. It's the ultimate test of skill. Can you beat him twice in a row? If you can, your name is going to be remembered for a long time.
A lot of us were doubting if it could be done at all, and of course now we know that is the case. He has to, of course, execute it all over. Maru, does he go for something a little bit different? Is there anything still up his sleeve in this matchup? Or will he just try his same old? And I'm actually just very excited to get into it, guys. Let's load up game number 1. Maru versus Time. Let's get into it. In the bottom right here in the red, off the back of a victory versus Stats, he is
Jin Air Green Wing, Maru.
And up here in the top left-hand side, representing Newbie and looking to seal his spot in the top 8.
Newbie, Time.
I'm so happy already that he's found his way here. A really good first game against Cyril as well. It's always funny, but probably one of the closest maps Cyril played today. I mean, it still ended up being, you know, a very good series, but you know, if you can make the god a little bit shaky in one of those games, and I mean, Cyril looked really quite annoyed even after closing out the first map of their series, then I think it does say something about the heat that you're bringing.
Yeah, Time making the god bleed a little bit on Disco Bloodbath, but of course, it was all Cyril from there onwards. Now, Time once again going for this 2 racks opener where he does, you know, he is going to have early game map control, of course. It does delay his expansion in his factory by a hot minute, though. So you just do this with a 1 gas.
Yeah.
But, you know, he knows that Maru likes to proxy. He knows that it's one of the best ways to just blindly counter it as well. But, you know.
You know, Maru's going gas first expand again here, or sorry, barracks gas. With the double gas. So he's going to play that very kind of safe 2 Reaper Hellion opening most likely out of this. Curious to see if he recycles that medevac tank build, where he goes and does a little push, evacuates when things turn south. We'll have to see exactly what he opts for. The interesting thing is that Time has decided this is just the way to play against Maru and has consistently put himself in a pretty decent position and really slapped down all of Maru's early pressures, except for the Proxy Reaper game that got him. But with this build here, Time has just been completely solid, has not been upset in the early game at all. So I actually like the choice of Time to stick with this. And it feels like Maru doesn't have a direct, I'm going to do this and it's going to counter your build. Like, he really feels like he's never getting ahead against this opening. So I'm not sure if Time's just figured out the best way to counter Maru's builds and kind of like stop him throwing you off your game. It's just interesting because Maru, he doesn't seem to be adjusting very much against this.
Certainly, I mean, the part that does hurt for Time, though, the thing that's good for Maru is that Maru has the much faster starport, so that's, you know, a part of your tech that's extremely important. You see, the Time's barely started his factory here. Maru coming forward with the 2 Reapers and the Hellions, as most Terrans do, but of course, Time, with that bunker and with, you know, even more Reapers left over after that, not a whole lot Maru can do. He just goes towards the ramp and pulls back, not seeing any presence at all at the Watchtower, not seeing any Reapers at all from Time. Knowing that he has a little bit of an opening here to not have to worry about anything from the Chinese Terran. Drops his 3rd in the main as well very quickly.
I like that choice. I really like this choice from Maru. His attacks keep on getting shut down. And you talked about the advantage being the starport units, the Ravens building up energy early. Now, he's been trying to turn that into an early push a lot, and it hasn't really been getting big results. So Maru's saying, you know what, you're going to have the Marine advantage with the 2nd barracks, you can have faster stim. I'm just going to sit at home. I am going to camp. This is what worked for me previously on this map, was really just playing super defensively, shutting down your pressures. Whenever Maru's tried to take the fight to Time, it hasn't worked out too well, but he crushed Time on this map after just really focusing on his work, is hitting every upgrade, moving into heavy tank production, controlling the skies with the Vikings. So I actually love the fact that Maru does seem to be shifting gears in this series.
Yeah, and you know, if anyone has a lot of TvT tools in their utility belt, it is, of course, going to be the Generic Green Wings player at the bottom right. He has got a lot of builds for this matchup. And I don't remember the last time he did a series without proxy barracksing at one point as well, so look forward to that at some point in this best of 5. He's going to have that tank advantage, obviously. Time with that Tech Lab factory, going into Cyclone for safety. You know, the tank is a lot better of a ground unit, but the Cyclone does keep you safe against things like Liberators, keeps you safe against things like quick medevacs, and of course, you know, just picking off small amounts of early game units as well. So, you know, that's a nice little advantage for Maru, but he's not exactly going to be aggressive with it. He's just starting stim. He's chilling at home for now. Happy to just chill on the Watchtower, get his 3rd, and both players being very passive here at the start of this game.
You know, Maynard, I can't help but think about the idea of a Proxy Banshee up against this build of Times, because Time doesn't scout a lot with it. Yeah, he's very safe against the standard things in the current meta, but his Raven pops out at like 5 minutes 30, like 2 minutes, a minute and a half after, you know, a Proxy Banshee could get there. I feel like there's a few really cheeky things Maru could potentially mix in here, but I guess it just doesn't really go with the current thinking of Terran players. Everyone says, well, man, you go Banshees, even if you do manage to get SCVs, what are you going to do when the Raven push comes? It's so deadly because you're so far behind on that. But
yeah, you're not wrong.
He's just kind of happy to go up in this game, is going for the economic response in game 1 of the rematch, and immediately moving the 3rd base down. Both players there tied neck and neck in workers. Stim not far behind for Maru, who does seem to have a head start on those engineering bay upgrades, so gonna have the Marine advantage. a few minutes from now. Right now, the Marine count definitely is favored for time.
He's going to try and capitalize on that by making something happen at third base here. Of course, once again, Maru does have the siege take advantage. He's got defender's advantage. He's already sieged up, and he has his own Raven as well. So an attack like this seems unlikely to work. But, of course, we have seen magic happen before here from time. I like this Reaper from Maru on the left-hand side of the map, just to keep an eye on what's happening without burning scans, seeing what's happening. Is the third here? Any free SCVs?
Ooh, maybe even get a fresh mule. That'd be really nice.
Yeah.
Whole army actually being pulled home for time right now. That mule's going to go back, but yeah, Reaper won't really find too much.
He's not looking at it by the looks of things. There we go, just pulls back. Going into the main base here to have a look at the infrastructure of time. He did scan him earlier, and everything looks pretty hunky-dory. It's all pretty normal. And, you know, there's no armory or anything here from time, so he knows he's in a pretty good spot with those upgrades. And the Reaper looks like it's going to go down on the way back, but there is that push from time. Maru does have a good spread of tanks here. He's a little bit thin on the bio here at the top side of that third base, but that's not where Time's attacking from. He is going straight towards the natural.
He's going to keep going this time. Last time he changed directions here. Maru, he is pulling one more tank down from the high ground, and Interference Matrix goes down. Another one goes down. There's only one siege tank there. It's in the very back of this fight. It's doing a lot of damage, but great counter matrixes from Maru.
Certainly, he's going to lose a few tanks here. Time's tanks are about to get their ability to fight back here, as the Interference Matrix does wear off. So both players, Ravens, have also been taken out of the mix here as Times continues to pressure with a little bit of bio, but it is just a little bit of bio, so the tanks seem to be enough for Maru for now.
Yeah, good Interference Matrix usage on both sides here.
Marine, nope, the repair.
Yeah,
twice.
He wanted to Marine bomb that tank. Doesn't quite get it. But this is very different to their previous game on this map, where Time had his push shut down. In this case, not as bad. Still a good hold for Maru, but they are going to kind of reset in a super fast fourth command center. And that just talks about how good players are at defending. The speed players just normally drop a fourth command center in this matchup is out of this world, and it's going to be going for that once again. Of course, Maru unable to keep the upgrade advantage going due to being busy holding that push. The armory was a little bit delayed, a bit starved for gas. So those upgrades are going to level out for both players.
Yeah, the armory is almost going to finish at the same second here. I like this move from Time. Just going to try and hit the main base. Maru's with that spotted depot, though. When it's done, it has a little bit more vision at the moment. It doesn't have a ton of it, but it looks like Time's going to fly over it anyway. And Maru actually is moving to intercept it because he's army moving in the main base. So Time will have to pull back. No doubt he's looking at these dropships.
Oh, he's going to dive. Yeah, Time has really shown that he wants to abuse this
angle.
Mate.
I don't think so, mate. See you later.
Oh.
You can try and circle around the third base, though. No, Maru moving to intercept.
There's Vikings there as well. You got to get out. Okay,
yeah,
go. Almost loses a medevac, but good pullback there by Time. And this is all just keeping Maru very defensive. There's a fifth command center on location.
That's a fifth.
Okay, Time,
wow.
You psychopath. This is awesome. He's just like, man, let's go to 5 bases before 9 minutes. Why not? Let's just go. Honestly, you know it's going to be a big, long game. He's identifying that Maru's playing super defensive, and he's saying, all right, let's go to that stage. Second factories for both sides going down. They're adding the armory upgrades for the tank attack. We're going to see the extra starports in just a few seconds, and both players going up to about 75 SCVs. We've got a big macro game on our hands, and the thing is, it's scary on this map. There's so many attack paths. There's so many different avenues you can come through. Looks like Time aware of this army on the north side.
And Maru just being careful here to try and make sure he wins that engagement with the fire. But looks like Time with the Marine advantage here at this location. And Maru thinks that's the fourth, almost certainly. He scans, he sees, oh, the fourth's in production. No worries, we're good. You know, but Maru, of course, is falling a bit behind in that macro, or a lot behind the macro with that double expand, and he is getting those extra starports. Maru looking to rule the skies here against Time. And of course, when you have the skies, you tend to win engagements more often than not in TvT.
And I love what Time's doing in the middle of this map. He's starting to really cement his position. He lost on this map previously because he wasn't holding the watchtower, and Maru was able to just walk through the middle and surprise him. But this time around, there we go. Yeah, still threatening that drop on the north. Still a very ballsy maneuver. But of course, players at this level not just ringing their bases with turrets. They're putting all their spare minerals into more Marines, more tanks, more Vikings for now. The turret rings won't come down till much later in this game. It's all about having the mobile army, because if you put too much in static defense, you can't move to respond. These Marines just sharking around. Oh, the tanks just left!
They're sieging up again, but Time does have a window here. Okay, not really moving those Marines in too close to the mineral line. He pulls back, losing a few Marines. And sensor towers are up for Maru as well, so he sees the movements of the main army of Time here in the middle of the map with the edge of the ring of that sensor tower. So Time is looking like he wants to get rid of that depot. He really wants to drop into the production of Maru. Of course, he cut the head off the snake, the body does fall. And that is generally the plan to quickly end a TvT. It's one of the very few ways to quickly end a TvT.
Maru's like, you know what? I could use a few more SCVs. Let's go to 80, 85 maybe. Let's really build that economy like crazy.
Yeah, he's a fan of TY. I appreciate that.
And you know what? Time. I mean, he's
Ooh,
got
I like this.
momentum. Maru's army's down in the bottom left-hand side of the map right now. It's thinking about pushing. This army comes up here. He's just going to dive on it. 3 tanks with very little support. That base has to live.
Yeah, and Maru is too far out to actually come back home and save this, so he's just going to commit with his army on the left-hand side of the map as well. Oh, okay, a bit of a scuffle there with those Vikings, dealing with the Marines. This counterattack from Maru, he needs to do a lot here.
Yeah, these tanks starting to do some damage from Maru, but where's the support? These tanks out in the open right now and trying to get together a defense this time. His tank's SCV is being pulled there. He's going to try to save that command center. That's a lot of SCVs. Time, you got to pull back to your natural. You can't afford to lose your important production. And where's his production right now? I guess Time was maybe maxed out for a little bit there. He's got to hold the main base. He's pulling back way too late. He's taken too long. He doesn't have any tanks on the high ground, Maynard.
He's going to lose another command center here, and keep in mind that during the back of this, Maru was also researching 3-3, so he's going to have better Marines shortly if this game goes close.
He didn't even raise the depot!
Oh, no!
Oh, he just barely had enough Marines on the rally. His other units are going to come back.
And catch the medevacs. He's trying to at least, but Maru, 2 on top of it. He boosts back to the dead space on the left-hand side of the map here. A great counterattack from Maru, really punishing Time for picking off that 3rd CC.
So many SCVs going down. Even though Time has command centers to spare, he doesn't have the work account. He's had his economy really smashed down. The Vikings finally going to take out some of these drops, but not before they cause a whole lot of chaos and damage. Time here struggling to get on top of that. And, you know, once again, Time just pushing so aggressively on the top right-hand side of the map. And with so little defense at home, I've got to be critical of that maneuver. I feel like he's loving the aggression, he's finding good angles, but he's just leaving himself a bit too open for the counterattack. That's something you know you are forcing your opponent to shove in with the counterattack. You're meant to be prepared for that.
Now, with this situation of Time, do you just go across the map with what you have here, just F2 and try and do your best? Because he just can't really fight back from 39 SCVs. Yes, he killed the command center here of Maru. Maybe he thinks with the extra command centers he can make a game out of it. He is still making SCVs, but it feels like he does have to counterattack and at least find a little bit more damage to the economy of Maru to turn this into an actual game.
Yeah, I mean, remember he got one of Maru's bases, so it's like, yeah, I mean, it's still 80 workers.
It's a tough call.
Such a fresh
tough call.
3rd and 4th for Maru.
3-3's done for Maru, by the way. I was talking about that upgrade lead earlier. But Time's got 64 Marines against 36.
Oh, only 2 tanks on their own there. Time, though, doesn't have a lot of scans right now. He's just going to siege up there. Good Marine position, that planetary. Very threatening. The Liberators, though, are a problem. Can the Marines get down there? Yes, they can. Libs have to unsiege. One of them does get out, just barely. These tanks going to try and siege down this planetary. Nice methodical push here from Time, who's going to get at least 3 or 4 of those tanks in range of the planetary fortress. That Liberator, though, going to cause problems.
And it's going to be very, very annoying. And if Time steps in to try and commit, of course, Maru does have his own tanks covering that base. Oh, that Liberator being very annoying for Time. He's going to come in with that big Marine advantage. Will it make a difference, though? That planetary is still going to help things out for Maru. And his tanks as well. Maru ruling the skies with those Vikings, keeping the Liberator advantage here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so nice for Maru.
Time's got to pull out. There's no way he's going to get anything more done here. I mean, he's built his economy back up a little bit. I think if he just pulls home and rebuilds, there is a way back into this game. It's going to be tough, but there is a chance. Time wants to keep the pressure up, wants to keep the position up. Oh, 2 tanks in the back. Nice. Maru's going to keep pushing forwards here. Very ballsy.
Yeah, wouldn't want to lose any more of these Vikings or even the Raven here. They are still useful units. See, Time's remaking his own Raven back at home. Just really doesn't have the income still. He's got the work account looking a little bit more healthy though. 52 SCVs, not too bad, but of course Maru's been very close to 80 SCVs this whole time and has been just continuing to make these air units, more Liberators, more Vikings. He just will not let go of this air advantage.
Yeah, and this is exactly what you want to be doing. Just edging your way forward with the Liberator Viking, and if your opponent stims forward, they're going to eat massive tank shots. So really using this slow sieging army. He's got also about almost even Marines. So Maru way up, 30 army supply here. Liberator's going to come forward. Anti-armor missile goes down. A big Marine stim in from Time. He's going to jump on top of that army. He says, I don't have as many technical units, but I've got a lot of Marines. And he takes a fantastic hold.
And Time's control when he was pulling back as well was fantastic, saving as many tanks as possible with the medevacs. Really brilliant micro here from the Chinese Terran. And with a big Marine ball and mechanics like this, I can see magic happening here for Time. But of course, Maru not out of this game just yet. He's still ahead with the SCVs. He's still ahead in army supply. And Maru, I've seen him come back from massive supply deficits, and he is in the lead right now, well and truly.
I think maybe a little bit of multi-prong with drops and Marine squads running around could be nice, but of course Time has to respect the frontal push. He can't let himself get pinned back up against a wall. That's where the Tank Liberator can force him into a corner, and he's just going to lose the game. He won't be able to keep up. So, you know, this here, because he's at least forcing this siege up in the middle of the map, he's got space to retreat. He can kind of stagger that back. And if Maru moves a bit too far forward into the open, he will just get flanked by Marines and jumped on top of.
So the big issue here for Time is that even though his controls are brilliant, he just doesn't have the bank. You know, Maru's maxed out. Time's very far from maxing out. He's just still trying to secure his infrastructure here while having a presence on the map, and it doesn't look like he's stretched too thin. He can't do both at the same time. And Maru is taking the map away from him and just has a way better army.
Oh, a big stim forward here from Time, coming in from the left as well. Nice interference matrixes. That's a huge arc.
Very, very nice, but Maru's Marine count's still pretty convincing. If he can fight in front of those tanks, I like it here for the Korean Terran, and it looks pretty good here, Pig. Maru pushing forward, and he is going to secure game 1 here against Time, who put up a hell of a fight.
Impressive play there from Maru. Brings it back together with a full-on macro mode TvT. Takes out Triton again. You know, it was a very similar game to the last one they played on that map. Maru going full macro mode, but most importantly, Time getting a little bit out of position in the northern side of the map and not being prepared for that counter attack. I mean, Maru ended up just stimming about 50 Marines in and found a very undefended series of bases right up the ramp of the main base where he finally had to evacuate. And you're not meant to be able to go that deep. Think about the positioning when that started. Maru's army was in the bottom left of the map. It was not on Time's side, and Time found an exposed base, stimmed in. That's a terrible situation. Going for the counterattack is so delayed, you're not meant to get in. But somehow he managed to just catch him off. Maru, his instincts kicking in, his macro taking over, and crushing through in the follow-up to that game. A good start to the second series.
Great battle for game 1. I'm very, very excited for game 2. Thunderbird is our next battlefield between these two Terran Titans. Let's get into it. That's up left here in the red. Currently up in the series, he is
Jin Air Green Wings, Maru.
And down here in the bottom right-hand side of the map in the blue, the player hailing from China and giving us a spectacular performance in his first BlizzCon.
Newbie, Time.
It's time. It's time. We're trying to go light in those puns, guys. We know. It's, you don't like them, we don't like them. Well, actually, we like them a little bit.
Yeah, we enjoy the really, the painful ones, the dad jokes.
At least it's not Time versus Showtime. That's luckily for us that they're in different groups.
Yeah, it's a little bit funnier when you say it's Showtime, because it's like a less, you know, it's a more uncommon statement. Time is just a word that inevitably gets said a lot in a game
Especially
like
StarCraft. In a
StarCraft.
real-time strategy game.
It's all about timings.
Yeah,
it's
it
all
is,
about
yeah.
when you hit, where you hit. It's, yeah. It's definitely a little bit of a tough one. You know, I'd actually really like to see Maru go for a more conservative expand with a bunker out front.
Or a cloak banshee, like you said.
Yeah, that would also be cool. Those are the two builds, and I like that he's shifted it into that just low ground expand build for Maru this time around. He will, of course, you might think, hey, low ground expand, isn't that a little bit risky? I guess because he hasn't walled off, he's decided to go and build it on the high ground. Delays the command center. No, then he goes back and puts it on the low ground anyway. So Maru a little bit indecisive. So the reason I thought he was just going to put the bunker on the low ground and he was going to wall the Reaper ledge. But right now, it looks like he's coming down here and he's thinking about how he'll respond to the Turax Reaper. You know, they don't get across the map all that fast. I'm very curious to see how Maru sets up this defense to make sure he's not interrupted. Because we saw previously, command center on the high ground delayed just by a few seconds and he ended up behind on SCVs. He's going to have to make sure his defense is very clean here.
Time and not being passive with his two barracks. Reaper opening anymore. Maru's on the chase. Pushes back Chime. Definitely, I mean, Maru wins this engagement very handily there. Using that high ground to great effect. He's on SCV and his own Marine fighting back. And both players is going to expand off the back of this. Time still has that Reaper advantage, though, and he's rallying more units across.
You know, I think Maru's just going to go Hellion first. He's got the bunker on the high ground to block the ledge. So I think he just wants to defend this until the command center finishes. And then he's going to obviously evacuate to the high ground just until a Hellion's out. So the Reaper Hellion, Reaper Marine here for Maru, going to do nice for the moment, but he got to keep that SCV up. Oh, it's so
Yeah,
close.
He's not going to get it.
So close.
Wow, so close. He does get the SCV in the end, but of course command center finishes, which is the sole purpose of that SCV for the most part. Now with the Hellion out, Maru can stand and fight here against the triple Reaper.
Yep. And behind this expands on the way, Factory Reactor. You know, just a standard macro follow-up here for time. He's going to try and pull back right now. The Hellion and the Reaper of Maru getting very ambitious. Wow. And neither side taking any losses, both going to get back from there and get that regeneration going on outside of combat. Of course, Factory, soon to be Starport on the way for time. Maru has the lead on that Starport by quite a little bit. And Economy settling after that. It's even on both sides. But Time's got the very quick third command center, so it's going to level out here.
Yeah, once again, just the multiple Reaper early game into Cyclones for Time, but a very quick third base. And Thunderbird's one of those maps where even if you aren't going for this opening that only Time seems to want to do in this matchup, or maybe specifically against Maru, he likes to do this particular build. This is one of those maps you can really get away with a fast third base on. You got one choke point, you have one area to worry about. Unless it's in a dropship, you don't really have to worry about anything to stop that third from happening.
Indeed. There's, yeah, definitely the big macro map of all the maps. And third command center starts up now for Maru, but a little bit behind there. It's just going to be...
Denied.
Oh, I feel like it's so funny. Maru loves to Reaper Scout, but it always comes in and just dies on the ledge to the 3 Reapers, and it never gets any information. This has happened, like, that's the 4th time in this series, maybe 5th time across the games where that's happened. So, you know, Time's just very patient with that.
He's a creature of habit, Maru.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you've played hundreds of thousands of games of StarCraft.
Confirming that your opponent's, you know, chilling out at home and isn't going for any sort of big attack at the very least.
So the triple Reaper here from Time. And head back and see what they can get done. Of course, the tank is in position to be able to fight back if they're going anywhere near that ramp. I like the position here in the smoke just to pick off anything that Maru suicides through. Just a little bit of chip damage. Always nice. As this third base is about to be secured here for the Chinese Terran. And Maru isn't expanding on location. He's on the high ground, so of course that third for Time. Got to be able to get him a little bit of a boost in that economy, at least for the next few minutes.
You know, I really like that Time opts for this one Raven build. You know, he's a bit more mobile with the quicker stim, the quicker 2 medevacs. I think Maru did go double Raven, yeah, as per normal. Maru's really sticking with the classic double Raven, and he tends to get the Viking advantage early. But in the games, Time has won. There's been sometimes an issue because you'll notice whenever the fights get scrappy, Time's Marines, any opportunity they can stim forward and focus down Vikings, they will take. And just a few seconds of stim Marine fire, that air advantage can turn upside down, and things get a little bit tricky. And I think that's something we want to keep an eye on more than ever, because as much as this map, just like any other, can end from a big Doom drop or something like that, usually you go into 4 bases, usually you go into 5 bases, and tanks, air control, I mean, it becomes all about that fight.
Speaking of drops, double medevac here from Maru, from Time rather. And he scans the main. I think the wheels are spinning in the Chinese Terran's head. I think a double drop actually, well, you know, picking up these units, loading them up and going for a drop in the main base or maybe behind the mineral line at third base. A very nice play here from Time, and there's that load up.
Indeed, 2 tanks, 8 Marines, and a Raven.
Always a frightening with stim.
He tried to dive straight into the natural of Maru with this exact attack on Ephemeron in their previous series, and it got slapped down quite hard. Didn't really cause a lot of damage. We see the Reapers trying to clear this up. I mean, look at Maru's map vision. Marines there. He's got Marine spotters kind of all around. I think there's a good chance that he sees this drop.
I think that Marine might have just seen the edge of it.
Oh, he hasn't seen it though.
He hasn't.
He has definitely not noticed it.
Uh-oh.
Oh, the turret. Oh, it doesn't. Okay, it does finish, but I mean, it's basically gone as soon as it finishes. Tank siege up. You've got the Raven here.
The upgrades again. Is this Witness Gate all over again?
Not again.
Not like this.
Oh!
The Raven's been interference matrix received, so he still has that tank to fight back.
Double interference matrix,
Too many
nicely
Marines,
done.
though.
Yeah, good evac on the medevacs. I'd love to see an auto turret go down, but I think he's going to get shot down before they can land. Vikings a little bit faster than Ravens, and he's going to damage a refinery.
Take that, refinery! How dare you?
Yeah.
Oh man! All right, so a bit of an aggressive opening here from Time, after expanding quite fast. That 4th on location, my God.
Yeah, I mean, he keeps, with this stim build and this marine advantage and how aggressive he's playing, Time forces his opponents to just be a little bit more afraid. He puts them on the back foot, and that's the dream scenario. As a Terran player, you always want to be the one dictating where you get to put your screen at any point in time. It allows you to play as if you're faster than you really are. You get to choose where you're looking at, when you're looking at that area. Maru, on the other hand, he's got to kind of be like, oh, I need a sensor tower now. Oh, I need to be really safe with this and that.
Well, Time wants that sensor tower so bad, he can taste it. He wants to be able to make this drop play work. Time really loving medevac play here in TvT, like a lot of aggressive Terrans like to. And of course, it will be scouted by Maru.
Oh, he's going to just dive straight towards that
I
tank. No.
Oh, God. Yeah. Time's smarter than that. He's in the top 16 for a reason.
Good scan ahead of the army there. Yeah, when you go for a high-risk one like that, I think you've always got to drop the scan to see if it's a good idea or not. Even though sometimes players skip the scan because they don't want to give away kind of where they're heading. In TvT, you see a scan in an area, and you immediately go to respond. You just assume there's a drop coming to that base. So
yeah, it's a great rule of thumb for all you guys playing at home. Oh, three factories going down here for Time.
Wow.
He's gonna actually just rule the ground instead of the skies this time. You know, it's usually about the Viking and Liberator battle, right? Or the Raven Viking battle. But this time it's just Time just wants to have tons of Marines, which he always seems to have, and just way more tanks than Maru.
Oh, dude, he's got 50 Marines versus 28 right now. Okay, Maru, good evac. Pulls back straight away. Gets to the high ground. And look at this lovely little soft contain that's set up already.
Deals
Oh, that Raven's a little far forward.
Yeah, it's a very high energy Raven here.
It's a bait Raven, that is.
He wants him to stim on in and just lose a bunch of Marines to some of these tanks here. Maru saving that Raven energy for when he knows he can clean up this siege line, but with that many Marines, it's just not convincing. Yep. Got to stim down there, so that force is going to be quite delayed. And Time just doing Time things, expanding that fourth location. Knows Maru can only really get across there with a drop or something like that, but he is not going to be walking down that ramp very easily.
Looks like third factory may have been a mistake from Time, by the way, as he drops his starports right on time and has not added an add-on on the factory. So perhaps just going to play his normal style, progress into the air battle, but as you said, continuing to focus on mass marine tank production. He doesn't cut corners on the ground production. He realizes that's usually the most important army, and the support units, the air units, just leverage off of that. And I love the way he's just kind of inching his way backwards. Now, if Maru extends just a little bit too far down, he can stim in with like a 180, 200 degree surround.
Yeah.
And that could be really brutal. I mean, I think he needs more units on the right if he wants to go for that, though.
Maru realizes there's a weakness in the army here of Time, picks off that one tank, shoos him back from that angle that you were talking about, Pig, so that Time won't be able to get that surround very easily. He's spreading his units more and more back away from the fourth of Maru, but very thinly.
Maru's doing an awesome job. This is how you use this build order, is you very methodically move forward.
Oh, that 2-2 here from Time. He's going to capitalize on it with those extra Marines. Coming in from the backside. Does he have enough? Those interference matrices taking those tanks out of the fight for Maru. Whoa. And his own tanks really hold that line there. And that ends up being a great fight for the Korean Terran. And Time gets bullied back once more. It's like the Marines wanted to help out, but just let the Liberator do their thing.
That has worked out so many times for the Chinese player in this series, just stimming in, breaking a position when he had an upgrade advantage or an army advantage. But we saw how methodical Maru was with moving out. All of his tanks wedged in a rather tight formation, his Marines close to them, the Liberators moving forward. He knew if he was over-eager, unsieged half of his tanks, he was going to get jumped on. Ended up taking a fantastic defensive engagement. The +1 vehicle weapons really helping him out in a big way. And suddenly, Maru's not just back in this game, he's back in the game with more army supply, and he's got the Viking advantage. He's got the tank advantage. So Time is stuck in this position where he's trying to catch up in the complexity of his army. Yeah, he's got an extra base. He's a little ahead in the economy. But, I mean, catching up that Viking count, this is going to take a few minutes to seal that gap. And even when he gets there, I do worry a little bit for Time's ability to take on the massive 10 tanks to 5 that Maru has.
And we just saw the resources lost earlier. I mean, Maru's been trading almost doubly as well as Time at the moment in this game. And he has such a convincing army at the moment. So he's moving on forward with this force here. Spot a Marine from Time, sees that Maru's on the move. That's a lot of tanks here. Has those Ravens. He's getting Corvid Reactor as well, so still intending to make more and more Ravens. Maru doing the same thing back at home.
Maru's not continuing Viking production. which is a little bit odd because he is behind on the bio upgrades, and even though he's going double armory and he's starting more Vikings now, this has given Time an opportunity to catch back up in the Viking count a little bit. He's still slightly behind. I think Time's got to commit a bit more. One of these players really should be going up to about 15 Vikings, making sure they win that air war, because if you lose that air war at this stage, it's going to be a big trouble for you as a player. And medevac's actually taking priority. I guess Time maybe lost all of his medevacs earlier, so you need a couple medevacs to heal up after those stims.
Certainly. Speaking of a couple medevacs, it's literally the entire contingent of medevacs there for Maru, but he, of course, doesn't have many Marines to worry about. Time circling down here to intercept the small group of bio there from Maru. Meanwhile, there's one Liberator on the top right of the map going to get some SCVs and force the SCVs to get out of those refineries and fall back to safety. Except for this one Mad Lad who decides to still mine those gases after the Liberator shows up.
He was about to hit his quota and get extra overtime, man.
Yeah, 1 day from retirement. It's a sad story. Extra starports going down for Maru, and I think we're going to be seeing BCs here from both players, actually, as it goes up to, I think, 5 to 6 starports per player.
Might go range lib first, but definitely BC is something we saw both of them clash with on Ephemeron previously in their series. No one wants to walk into the other's tank line. I mean, at this point, the armies are getting so big, the upgrades are getting so good, you can't break an entrenched position. There's still a few soft edges where drops could slide in, but both players wanting to make sure that their army can win a front-on clash. And they're both kind of posturing here, looking for a mistake from the other player.
That anti-armor missile is going to make Time at least potentially rethink this attack, but of course if you have way more Marines than your opponent, that anti-armor missile doesn't matter a whole much.
Oh, Maru, a little bit of inattention, but
Small position here.
quickly fixes that up. A couple of missile turrets getting sieged down. Not a big deal. But is Maru going to try and break this? He's got a lot of Ravens.
Yeah.
So many Ravens. Oh, Time's got to get the interference matrices on him. Okay, so when this battle goes down, if all those tanks get interference matrixed, that could be huge for either side.
Looks like they've both got their Vikings and their Ravens in one control group here. Just keep them all together.
Ooh, Marine bombs.
All right, I like it a lot. Relatively inexpensive for Maru. Keep in mind they are basically maxed and have been for a little bit, so they're quite, they have a ton of bank at the moment, both players do. So they want to free up a bit of supply, start to throw in those BCs, but of course only when they know it's safe to do so. Maru going to be the first one to hit the BC button.
Whoa, interference matrix is going down there, creating an
die.
opening. All the tanks are stuck on the south side for Maru. They are not helping right now.
They certainly aren't. Now the Marines there of Time getting a lot of DPS down. They do get rid of those tanks. They do kill the CC. Maru still has army and CCs to spare, and those tanks you were talking about do get in position. And keep in mind that Maru still has that Raven advantage. He has the Vikings as well. Drops interference matrices, but not really to capitalize on them at all. He doesn't really have the Marines to make it happen.
No. That's a lot of Marines heading towards his production. He's got to do something to hang on.
He's going for the starports. No BCs here for Maru. They get denied. And what can Maru do about this? He has to worry about so many Marines here, and he just doesn't have the static defense. Loses command centers, loses production, and he's losing some army as well.
That tank on the right, the saving grace of Maru, if that wasn't there, he would have even had not enough Marines to deal with that. Maru would have been in even more trouble. That tank, thankfully, does take that out, but the starport transition delayed. As you pointed out, there are a couple of battle cruisers being halted in progress. I think it was 3 starports and an orbital command going down. Maru's still got a healthy economy, though. He's up in supply right now. He's got a bank advantage. And he seems to have maintained the Viking advantage at a lot of points in this game. This can still go either way. Air upgrades are in favor for Time. About to hit 2-2, but getting very close.
Maru getting down on this command center here. The sensor tower doesn't quite cover too much of this area to the left of this CC, so it looks like he's going to get a pick off. Or maybe not. It pulls back just in time. Oh, I don't know.
Battle cruisers jumping on top. They get interference matrixed and blasted out of the skies. Was that over eager from Time? I think it might have been. The counter blink in from Maru, and Yamato's go down on the Vikings. But he is going to lose his battle cruisers as well. Time ends up taking them out. Both sides battle cruisers end up kind of just headbutting and getting blasted.
It looks like the Viking advantage that Maru had has been taken away from him here, so he's making a couple more back at home, oddly enough, while making BCs as well. And he's been getting double armory upgrades here. What are the upgrades like for Time? Okay, he's got 2-2 on his air as well.
Yeah.
He's got the faster +3 attacks, so his BCs have been a little bit more damage, his Vikings have been a little bit more damage, but it is still quite close, quite neck and neck here for both players.
Indeed, Maru taking both the central base and the top middle base right now, so he's going to be going up to 7 bases. Has to lift this one and pull it back for now. Says, yeah, that's not worth it. We're not going to hold on to that position. So back to 6 bases versus 6 for both sides. A whole lot of extra command centers are going up for Time, though, at his 4th base on the low ground. Structure armor for both sides, +3 ship plating coming in as well. Time way down on army supply, though, right now, and he's adding a lot more Ravens. Maru's going very heavy on the BCs. Ravens, I think, are the better unit in a clean engagement where everything goes right. It's just sometimes they die very quickly and they're very hard to use correctly. So I think Time's building the better army. It's just got to be very well executed to make sure it actually works the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, if you commit with these Ravens, you better make damn sure that all the VCs are not part of the fight. You got to interference matrix every single one of them. And I guess with this many Vikings, Time knows that his air actually could be stronger as long as he gets the interference matrix.
He teleports on his base. He just says, you know what, your army's out of position, let's go for it. Yamato's down the missile turrets. They are both going to go down. Now, these battle cruisers, very exposed here, but remember, Maru just took out a base on the top right.
And
he's doing more damage here now. He's just going to click down a few of these units. Obviously, they will fall now, but Time's economy just took a big beating. He's falling behind further and further. Maru's got that top center base. He's adding more command centers. I think Maru just needs to add more Ravens because that energy bank, that's the big advantage for Time. He's got the air superiority at this moment in time.
One bad fight for Time, this game will end. He just doesn't have the minerals to replenish this army anymore. So hard for him to continue to make things. The only thing you can really do with a lot of gas here in TvT is basically make Ravens, which is what he's doing. But Maru, like you said, doing the right thing here, getting tons of Ravens. All 6 of his starports with Tech Labs making Ravens right now, and still putting on pressure with the BCs that remain for Maru, making Time have to worry about the defense as well as the attack, but Time definitely more convinced with the attack here.
Yeah, Time comes forward, gets a command center of his own, but losing this base on the north once more, and uh-oh, he can't afford to lose those SCVs. He's pulling back to deal with this, but it's a bit too late. He hasn't run the SCVs away, Maynard. Oh, I think Time being just a little bit indecisive. I mean, this is the right call. You have to go home and defend, but look at that.
See ya. Oh, wow. So both players swinging and missing there against the BCs, but that damage from Maru, you hit the nail on the head there, Pig. That was very, very catastrophic for Time. The hand of Time has been forced. He needs to make something happen with his army. He's tank siege first, so he's going to get us a couple nice volleys. Oh, the Ravens have been in there first, matrix out of the battle.
Wow, so many of Time's Ravens just getting shut down. The interference matrix is massive, and it looks like a few Marines are still on the ground for Maru, adding so much damage to this fight. Time only had about 18 Vikings, and even though it looks like he wins the skies, he has taken a lot of losses for it. Maru crushes the ground battle.
And he's back into getting the Marine production on the field as well. Of course, he is replenishing those air forces, the BCs, the Ravens. And Time, like I said, just doesn't have the minerals to keep all of his production running. Look at the differences in production taps right now. Maru getting more SCVs because he can afford it. He can get Marines, BCs, Ravens because he can afford it. Time is just broke as a joke right now. He needs to make magic happen with whatever he has on the field right at this moment.
You know, that was such big brain Raven usage from Maru as well. He had way less energy, but as long as his Ravens shut down the Ravens of Time, negated that huge energy bank that Time had built up, shut down about double the Raven count with each one at about triple the energy, crushes that fight on the ground, and that's all he needs. Yeah, overall, it was not a terrible fight for Time in terms of units lost, but his economy is so much smaller, he needs more than that right now.
As those tanks rule the ground as well. These Ravens still survive for Time, of course. He does still have a lot of energy about to use here, but they're not the greatest fighting unit anymore.
Oh, man,
meanwhile, BCs from Maru, and Time really can't afford to split up his forces.
Yeah, I mean, the missile turrets aren't really going to do a lot to hang on here. And you can't afford to lose any more economy. Lovely interference matrices from Maru. Going to be able to just casually siege up, blast those tanks, and we're going to see the northern and southern base go down at the same time. He's forced his hand. Maru has just put him in such a bad position economically. Time has to crush a battle and win the game right now.
Well, that's a good start here. Here's Marine Stim first. He's on the chase. The anti-armor missile on both players. Interference matrices on the tanks from Maru as well.
Good Viking movement.
Yeah, great zoning.
Yeah, he's going to... Oh, nice auto turret. Marine Stim there. Zones him out a little bit. The tanks are going to try and siege up. Maru just trying to get his forces back together. And look at this, just buying time. Saying, give me a moment, let me consolidate my army, and I'm going to actually get everything together.
The BCs here of Maru, you can afford to throw those BCs away. And really, like, even though there looks to be some hope here, some light at the end of the tunnel for Time, you got to, I mean, we with our Caster God camps can see that there is still more BCs for Maru waiting at home, just waiting for their time to shine.
And look at that, waits to the last second, teleports them out. They, of course, can mass repair. and then just go back into the action. And it's this low-risk harassment. That's the power of battle cruisers, their ability to just hit your far-reaching bases. Oh, Interference Matrix is going down on some of these units.
Well, this is going to be our last fight, I think, Pig.
Yeah, that's a lot of Marines there for time. But, I mean, oh, man, tactical jumping into the battle. Interference Matrixes, they need to go down, 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 down. They go down, but I don't think they're fast enough. The tanks came out of Interference Matrix and just one volley from them, and Maru blasts Time's army apart.
He does indeed. The reinforcement BC's coming on in. The Marines shooting everything for the sky. GG! Maru with a 2-0 lead in the series. And once again, back-to-back series where he is finding himself on match point without having taken any map losses.
A good comeback. Their first series ended in disaster for this young man. The prodigy of Terran, who in the last couple of years has really just done things you know, that we haven't seen in terms of dominance within Korea ever. He absolutely crushed everybody in 2018. Started off 2019 in the strong way. But here, he started off this tournament with a very rough defeat to Time. He's got his chance for revenge now, just one more map. And then all of those fans out there who were very worried after the start of this group, I think they're starting to feel a little bit more hope. There's a lot of momentum on the Korean side here.
Certainly, and there's a lot of Time fans out there as well, so lend him your Twitch chat energy out there, StarCraft fans. Now see if our Chinese Terran from the WCS circuit can fight back against the greatest Terran out of Korea, winning 4 GSLs in a row, and then just struggling for a lot of 2019 off the back of that. And of course, the global finals, if there's anywhere for your redemption, is going to be here on stage. Let's get into game 3 with Maru and Time. In the bottom right here, the Korean Terran. He's on match point. He is
Jin Air Green Wings, Maru.
Looking a little bit more calm there. Realizing, of course, that he's given himself a very nice advantage against this young Terran. A huge talent coming up in the scene. He is
Newbie, Time.
Speaking of upcoming talent, we of course not only have Time joining us for BlizzCon for the first time, but we also have Reina later on. His first BlizzCon. A couple very hyped players on the WCS circuit.
You know, and such short, I think, ascensions to such a high level of StarCraft for both of them. I mean, even though they've both
kind of exploded.
Yeah, like they've both been playing, obviously, for a very long time, but from when it was like, oh, damn, they're really competing, you know, in Time's case, of course, qualifying for GSL, I think it was a year and a half ago, for the first time, if I'm not incorrect, and Raynor as well, of course. I think it's playing tomorrow, is Raynor's group. Maybe
they both kind of made this, it's kind of poetic, they both kind of made their big international splash right here in the studio.
Yeah.
You know, when Reina, for his 16th birthday, eliminated the second highest ranked player, the greatest Protoss in Korea at the time, Classic, with a 2-1 victory and one of the greatest CVPs I've ever seen.
Almost beat Maru in the group stage as well. It was very close, actually. And Time here, also taking out Maru in that opening match. Going to be the double Reaper opening again.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, I guess. I mean, I like this opening. It works great on paper for a lot of different TvT openings, a lot of meta builds. Do kind of get shut down. Your early game is quite safe.
Yeah.
But like you said, if there's a Cloak Banshee, someone's cheeky out there with a proxy starport, you're going to be very much hurting to defend with just Reapers on the ground.
Yeah.
Because your factory's so late.
I mean, you'll have a Cyclone probably by the time it comes, but that's like, you'll have literally nothing else. So, you know, how many, you know, a Cyclone can even lose to a Banshee if you're not quick to micro it. But anyways, we are going to see the Reaper poking in. Maru going to go for that low ground expand again. Quick Hellion and extra Reaper on the way. So both sides units should cancel each other out here in the early game. And I think, honestly, Maynard, I hope you're ready to defend 2-Rex Reaper nice and clean without messing up your economy. Because I feel like we're going to see this build every day on ladder for the next couple of weeks in TvT.
What up, ladder Terrans?
Everyone's going to be like, I'm so sick of dying to Reaper. I'm like, wait, I can just go 2-Rex Reaper defensively?
I was just getting used to guys reactoring Hellions at the start of this game. Now it's going to be 2-Rex Reaper.
Really cool style from Time. I like anything as well that goes into Stim Marines faster. You know, in the double Raven tank meta that we see, anything that makes use of some sort of Stim Marine push, I love it. It gives you more mobility, a little bit more of that kind of raw movement rather than these fancy spellcaster or siege on siege units. Makes me happy to see that one mixed in. 2 Hellions, 2 Reapers going to poke in, not going to find anything.
You know, it also makes me happy. Not a single proxy from Maru in these 3 games so far.
Doesn't work as well, I guess, against someone who's going 2-Rex Reaper like this. I mean,
fine, I will adjust.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, Time's not winning this fight.
Ooh.
Starting to recover a little bit. Has that Hellion, those Hellions on low ground as well.
Got to pull the boys. Got to pull a few boys into this
I think
fight.
so, just to make sure.
Yeah, he's got 2 more Marines that are about to pop out, but just a trade of a Reaper for a Reaper. The Marines like actually pop out at the perfect time. They end up being a bit of an ambush. Nicely done.
All right, so with the Reapers done here, Maru's not going to be able to do any economic damage to Time at all, and he is going 3 Gas Raven, a build very, very standard here in this matchup, and gets his 3rd CC up there in the main base. This time, the 3rd for Time. Actually, it's not as quick as it has been in the last couple games.
Yeah.
Getting his starport and tech lab a little bit earlier.
Yeah, did have to go for the bunker this game, and a couple of Marines straight away. Wasn't able to make one of those super economic adjustments, but 3rd CC still reasonably well timed and coming out. Of course, this is the map with the slow fields across the middle of it. Can create some really awkward engagements with bio tank.
The bubulars, as Tastos has called them.
I refuse to use that word.
Only they will say it. I will never say it.
Thank you.
I will call them slow zones.
Yeah, slow zones, inhibitor zones, hummus field, you know.
The peddling and hummus fields. Yes. Thank you, Maris, for this map, by the way. So, as we can see, things just settling into a pretty standard bio-tank mid-game stim for both players. And even with this opening where normally Time has the fastest stim, has more Marines, it's not actually going to have that much of an advantage here versus the Marines of Maru this game.
No, Maru's got actually a 1 worker. I was about to say 1 worker lead, but you know, he's even in workers this time. Quicker 3rd command center, that'll mean faster triple mules dropping. So Maru might actually be able to get a little bit more active this time around. And you know, you're leading 2-0, you got a little bit of confidence. You keep shutting down these pushes from Time and these drops. It feels like Maru's clued onto the fact that, okay, this guy is relentless. He will be dropping me Marines and tanks in my base all the time. And Maru's defense just seems to be getting better and better. He's realizing, I think, that he doesn't need to attack as much against Time in the early stages. He's just got to be really solid defensively and keep his macro up really hard at the same time. Because what we saw in their first series, there was games where Time's aggression, you'd be like, oh, was that even worth it? But he was still like ahead on workers.
Right.
Because Time's both being very aggressive and pushing his economy very hard at the same time. At the same moment, I should say. We're going to bring out the Thesaurus.
It's hard,
we need synonyms for Time.
God, someone donate thesauruses to Pig and I's stream so that we can actually become better commentators and make this a better show for you guys. We do have medevacs very quickly from the starport again for Time. So it does look like he wants to use that drop play just once again. He just really loves this style.
Yeah, Interference Matrix goes down on both tanks. And Auto Turrets is the response from Maru. Marine Stim plus Auto Turrets, a nice little option, but I don't think it was enough. The Raven there actually ends up tanking a little bit. Maru's tank barely does hold on and win that. And you know what? I think that was an okay trade. I think it works out okay for Maru. Yeah, the tank's here, it's being annoying. But realistically, that's okay.
Look how much faster his upgrades are as well. Yeah, the combat shield's a little bit later, but 1-1, nothing to sneeze at. Want to pick up the tank as well?
The Cyclone might go
that's
down
so nice.
as well. The Cyclone's just below that. Run!
Flirting with the devil over here.
Oh my god, round 2. Yeah, I told you, he's just so aggressive. He just keeps going. Everything's loading to dropships going straight across the map. His 3rd's landed as well behind this. Even though his upgrades are slower, he's found his way into the production. Who would expect another attack so quickly off the back of that first one? It's just a handful of Marines in a tank. It's such a small force. I think this might actually just get crushed.
This is a desperation move here from Time. It was a quick snap, incredibly decisive maneuver from Maru to even pull SCVs to really take this drop seriously. He keeps loading up medevacs. He keeps going to try and put the pressure on Maru. But it feels like there's not a whole lot of wind in the sails here of this strategy from Time.
Well, who would expect it the 3rd time in a row? Well, if you fly through the sensor tower, I think they will expect it. He does turn south at the last second. Okay. This is reminiscent of Beyond's TvT in 2016. Right. You know, he was like, I'll just keep attacking you and kind of out-micro you, and that kind of is Time's style, right? You know, big mechanics, lots of micro, get in your face. Yeah, I mean, he's ready for it. I said earlier, you know, he's getting used to the fact that these attacks keep coming. He just needs to defend them okay, and Maru's so well prepared.
Yeah, he's right on top of it, pulling the SCVs one more time, and this gets crushed. Oh, what a devastating start to this game for Time. And he's on the chase as well.
Yep, paratroopers coming out there, going to try and shut that down. Time's economy is good, but he's just taken a series of terrible trades. He is now down 5 siege tanks. At this moment, his upgrades are about 2 minutes behind. He's got a 4th command center already going down. I mean, as usual, super fast 4th command center, but there's no way he hangs on to that one this game.
Dude.
This is a deadly push.
Each of these 3 games, Maru has just been looking better and more dominant. The first game was so close. Game 2, more Maru favored. This game is all Maru right now. He's got the upgrade advantage. He's got the army advantage, and he's going to try and crack the defense. The natural's actually quite wide open here.
Oh, revenge of the Maru. This is the exact same positioning that Time pulled on him earlier.
And there it is, a little bit of a weird ending there. This Time just realized, oh, I actually can't hold that. There he is. He's right there at my natural. But Maru at least showing us that he is still that Terran god that we know and love for 2018, and still is going to show that he can knock back these WCS kids. Showing some respect there for Koreans as well.
Daddy's got to establish himself there. He says, nah. All right, you got one off me before. That was a close 3-2 loss.
Yeah.
But yeah, Maru put on his big boy pants and just shut this one down methodically. I love the adjustments throughout that series. We saw more and more squads of units waiting in his main base for the drops that kept appearing in there.
He's reading him like a book. He's like, oh, you like to drop? All I need to do is sit here and wait for you to throw your units away. And there you go. So Maru is going to be the 2nd player out of the group of death, along with the world champion Cyril. And I am extremely excited to see where he lands in that bracket.
Yeah, I can't wait to see exactly, how he progresses in this tournament. It's those little adjustments that make the huge difference. Spotting supply depots above the main base and over on the edges of the map in every single game that series. And it's so funny. It seems like such a small thing, but it spotted 6 different drops ahead of time, gave him that warning. He said, I might not have an observer on the mode, but you can build a supply depot pretty cheap. And he was so much better prepared for all of the drop play from Time in that game.
Yeah, well, that is going to be that for our games today. But of course, don't go away. We have our interview with Smix and Maru. Take it away.
In this group of death, we saw Cyril advance in 1st place, and finally, the 2nd player to join him has been decided in Maru. So first of all, congratulations, Maru. It's been a long and difficult day for you, but finally, through this deciders match, you are through to the round of 8. Tell us what's going through your head right now.
일단 최종전까지 가서 힘들게 8강 진출을 하셨는데 드디어 메인 무대에 올라갈 수 있는 기분이 어떤지 얘기해 주세요.
저번에도 8강은 갔는데 8강에서 3대 0을 당해가지고 아쉬운 기억이 있는데 이번 8강은 꼭 잘하고 싶어요.
He says, so last time at BlizzCon, at the WCS Global Finals, I also made it to the round of 8, but I have such a disappointing memory because back then I lost there. So this year, I want to have a different result and win that quarterfinal to be able to advance and continue my journey at the WCS Global Finals. And before we get to talking about the playoffs in Anaheim, I do want to ask about the series that you just had against Time. On the 2nd map specifically, we saw Time drop and take out your engineering bay, and because of that, your upgrades fell behind. How were you able to bring the game back from that moment?
2세트 때 타임 선수의 드랍 때문에 그 공학 연구소가 깨진 바람에 업그레이드가 늦어져서 좀 불리했었는데 그 상황을 어떻게 극복하고 이길 수 있었나요?
제 4번째 멀티에서 제가 나갈 때 탱크를 조금 천천히 빼더라고요. 그래서 들어올 것 같았는데 진짜 들어와가지고 그것 때문에 이긴 것 같아요.
So when it came to that 4th base, I just had this feeling that he'd be coming in, and so I expected that attack to come, and I think that that's why I was able to win on that specific map. And then now moving forward to Anaheim, I know that you had just mentioned that you were disappointed in your result from last year because of losing to SOS. This year, I know you said you want to move forward. What are your expectations for how this year will go?
아까 전에도 작년 8강 김유진 선수한테 진 기억이 있어서 좀 아쉽게 졌다고 했었는데 올해 이제 메인 무대 각오 한마디만 해주세요.
올해는 유진이 형이 없으니까 그냥 마음 편하게 그냥 연습하면서 저번보다는 잘할 것 같아요.
He says this year is totally different because SOS is not going to be at this year's WCS Global Finals. So I think this year I'll be able to play with a very, very comfortable mindset. And as long as I can show everything that I practice, I think it will go a lot better. So for now, congratulations once again, Maru, on making it to that round of 8 in Anaheim. And now out of this group of death, our 2 players to advance have been secured. It'll be Cyril and Maru. Let's head over to the analyst desk to wrap up day number 2 here at the World Championship Series.
That's right, welcome back, of course. And Cyril, Maru are going to be advancing here into the round of 8. And of course, they didn't meet each other on the way, much to the grief of many, many nerds out there in the StarCraft universe. But that is by the by. Maru was able to win out this game, and half the time, gentlemen, there were so many orange units in this game, thanks to the missiles, that I thought the map was maybe Halloween themed. That was so many Raven usage going on over there.
Yeah, well, Time was definitely seeing ghosts at that point, with all the units kind of bum rushing everything, and just really good adjustments being made. Seemed a lot more clean after the start of the day for Maru, which was really the big weakness that we kind of pointed out. Like,
sure.
Things just seem sloppy here and there. Just really good adjustments, really good corrections throughout the series, taking way better engagements too.
Take a look at some of the highlights here from that series as a whole. It's unfortunate for Time going out quite like this, especially after he put up such a great fight against Maru in the opening series.
It's kind of like what happened yesterday with Showtime. I mean, Showtime, for instance, looking very strong to start the day off. Big surprises there, really exciting stuff. Same thing with Time, but having a rematch that's, again, another best of 5, that gives that the player that lost a lot to prep off of. And that seems like what we had this time around, is that Maru really identified the mistakes that he had made and made the adjustments and was able to counter Time pretty well.
Roddy?
Yeah, it's a bit heartbreaking, right? Because you start off your day in such a fantastic manner. You take out Maru 3-2, and everybody talks about you. And now in the end, you end 0-6. There's no other way to put it. Lost 3 games straight against Cyril, loses 3 games straight against Maru. But I think overall, it's been an absolutely fantastic WCS year for Time. I really do generally believe that he's the best Chinese player we've ever had. And I think it's impossible not to be excited to see more of him in the upcoming year, because he's so damn good and exciting.
And I think as much as, ending your group stage run 0-6, I think not a lot of people gave Time much chance in this group, considering the names that were there. But even in that 0-6 Nathanias, Time still looked really good. In a lot of these games, he still looked really good against Maru here.
His performance here really solidifies this as that group of death that we talked about, because it was 3 of the best players that we have in StarCraft, naturally, and Time was like, he was kind of the odd man out, but he really proved that he belonged in this group.
He rose to the occasion.
And I honestly, with this performance in any other group, with how he played against the caliber of players that he had, I think he could have gotten out of a lot of the other groups that we have in the round of 16.
Yeah, absolutely. It does seem that way. So let's take a look into game number 2. This one for me was kind of one of the more close matches of the series, I feel, Roddy.
No, absolutely. That drop initially in the natural, I think, was really good. Mix asked about it as well, sniping at eBay. But it really felt that Maru almost channeled his inner Showtime or something, and he's like, all right, I'll be the Mauer, I'm the wall. And like, you're going to keep on attacking, and I'll keep on defending. And yeah, that was a really funny fight with the BCs jumping like 2 inches or something.
I was going to say, I didn't actually realize that they just jumped from right next to the fight.
Yeah. Maybe not the best tactical jump we've ever seen, but the fact that Maru was able to bring this game back, I mean, that really goes to show how well he played in this one.
Yeah, a lot of matrices being used here to shut down things. As we mentioned before, as I say, Halloween themed, a lot of orange here.
Yeah, it's
special for the occasion.
You're not really sure whose units are whose, but
not at that point.
I'm really curious to see how Maru's going to do now that he's going to BlizzCon, because let's not forget, I mean, this guy won 4 GSL Code S's. He was dominating everything in Korea not long ago. And then he failed to rise to the occasion last year. And it was really a story about Cyril and his domination. And Maru wasn't even in the finals, so I think he's got a lot that he wants to prove coming into this.
Well, all importantly, he even referenced that in his interview. SOS isn't there, so maybe he'll have an opportunity to actually get a little bit further, considering he was really the kryptonite of Maru and his mindset and playstyle that he wanted to exude when it came to BlizzCon and trying to get further Rotterdam.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, of course, he is a second place finisher, though, in his group, which means he's going to go up against the group winner in the quarterfinals. Obviously, he cannot play Cero in the quarterfinals. That's not possible because they're in the same group. But he could get a Dark, and like that can already get very feisty because Dark looks like an absolute monster in CvT as well. So it's not going to be easy, but if he plays like he did in the last 6 games here today, because I think especially against Stats as well, he played so damn good. He was so on point with all of his transitions. Like, I don't believe in perfect play, but that was pretty damn close when it comes to TvP.
And here are the results for today, of course. We see Cyril getting out in first place with the 3-0 against Time in the winners match. And from there, Cyril obviously advancing on. We had then Maru trying to get out at the very end as well, and he was able to 3-0 Time. So Time was truly the gatekeeper of this group, and it was trying to deal with things, how that did go on. And that is the group as a whole. That means now tomorrow we are going on to Group C, which has Classic, Big Gabe, Hero Marine, and we have Hero as well as Reina going to be going into this match. I think a lot of people's eyes are firmly on Reina here. I think a lot of people last year believed that Reina, he wasn't playing half of the season, obviously, but deserved to be at the WCS Global Finals with his performances, and now he's here on the big stage, so a lot of people are looking for him.
He's got a lot to prove, and people's expectations of him are super high. He's an incredibly good young Zerg player.
Yeah.
But this group is a big test for him, because if he's at that level where he's going back and forth with Cyril, he should get out of the group, right? We all talked about, we saw what Cyril did today to some of the best players, and if Rainer is even close to that caliber, it should be an easy out for him here. But that's, as the pressure mounts, that's where you see the players who aren't quite ready for that crumble, and that makes Group C just extremely exciting on that alone.
Your thoughts about this group, Roddy?
3 Ravager hit squad. Can't wait. Rainer is going to snipe some Warp Prisms tomorrow. That's going to be really cool, especially because we don't really talk about Hero a lot at all. But Hero is very dangerous because he's so wild, but I think he's so damn good in the first 10, 12 minutes of any Protoss matchup. Like, he can really sneak in wins when you don't expect it. Of course, Classic has a very big story going into this global finals because we weren't sure if he was going to make it for a long time.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, Big Gabe, the #1 streamer right now in the StarCraft 2 scene. Even on his off day, he streams 7 hours a day, so get ready, man.
How about yourself, Tasteless?
It's going to be exciting. I mean, we've already mentioned Rainer, but look, when you get a guy that's this good, this young, there's so much potential there.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously, he doesn't have mandatory military service like a lot of the Korean players. So there's a lot of promise with this kid, and I'm very, very curious to see how he's going to do.
But if he did have mandatory military service, he is Italian, so he would look fantastic in the uniform. I can only imagine. There's a lot of questions going into tomorrow, of course. Who's going to be able to advance on into the round of 8? And importantly, will Big Gabe fit here in the studio is another question on everyone's mind. We will see you tomorrow, same time, same place, for more WCS Global's action.
2019 WCS Global Finals, Round 16.